Cheers. Hey guys, hello, good afternoon. My name is Maxwell da Silva. I'm a software architect at the New York Times, and we have been doing a lot of video-related stuff there. It's quite interesting because when I talk about the New York Times and video, so many people has no idea that the New York Times already producing that many video content. And this talk today, I'm going to talk about how to build Chromecast applications and what kind of platform you are supposed to build when you think about a Chromecast. It's pretty much iOS, Android, and Chrome, and they have specific SDKs for each one of those platforms. The iOS in Objective-C, Android in Java, and Chrome in JavaScript, HTML5, and CSS. So in order to be a developer and make a Chromecast application, you don't need to pay anything. But if you want to publish your app, you need to pay a fee of $5, which is very minimal. One thing that was quite interesting at the New York Times when we started to build the Chromecast application was we have been talking with many vendors, and the design guidelines in other OTT is not that clear. And the Chromecast, although it's like I'm not saying new, but it's relatively new OTT device, they have a pretty good and standards like design guidelines in how you should build your app and how all the components should be interacting. The main goal when you start to think about Chromecast build an app is the remote is your application. So if you are in the Chrome tab, your interface there in the browser will be controlling the device. If you're in your phone, iOS, Android, is the same thing. You have the big challenge, like how can we create that second screen experience where you're going to control the interface there and make sense to the user in a simple way where no matter in which platform he is, it's simple to use. The Chromecast has another interesting thing, which is the concept of like connect and play and connect, which is you already playing a video in your mobile phone or in your browser, and you decide to fling the content to Chromecast in the middle of that. And that experience should happen in a more smooth and seamless way. And so if you are watching a video of 60 seconds and you have 30 seconds watching your mobile device or Chrome browser, it should play the Chromecast in the exact position that you are. And another challenge is it's quite common when you build OTT device, you're focusing on remote control, and the UI in those kind of applications, they look like you can interact with it. In the Chromecast, because it's totally based on like second screen experience, you can't do that. You should create the controls in a way where it's just to show a state of your application, not in a way where you can interact with, to not make those kind of confusions when the person is using. How many of you guys have a Chromecast or play? So it's quite a lot. When you buy a Chromecast, you need to do some step to set up, like configure like your Wi-Fi, give a name to your Chromecast, and all of that stuff. And those parts are very important. But when you are building an application, you need to check that box to say send this Chromecast serial number to Google when checking for updates. That means when you register your Gmail or your Google account in the Google SDK website, he's going to check for the serial number of your device, and then will link those two stuff, and then you are able to produce the content. This is the website where you can create the application, use it, debug, and then publish. So to do that, you need first to add a serial number in one of your device. The serial number in the Chromecast is in the back, and is a number who usually starts with 3, 4, 5. and I put mine over there. So I have like 2 Chromecasts, one at the New York Times, one with a friend that I was testing. And this area here, you can define and create your applications. It's very interesting because you can like, you only need to publish your application when you are 100% sure that's already in place. And let's go to the, an interesting thing is like the step to add a device and to be ready to be in development mode takes about like 15 minutes. It's quite a lot. So Chromecast, when you think about like build Chromecast apps, you are actually building 2 applications. One for the receiver, which is the Chromecast itself, and one for the senders. And the senders you can build in all of that platform that I already mentioned. And this is the application lifecycle of Chromecast. You pretty much need to load your application, initialize it, make sure that you have the Chromecast API available for you to use as a developer. And then the second phase is discover all the devices around you in the network and start a session. That session means that your application in your mobile device or Chrome has a connection straight with the Chromecast, and from that point you can send information and messages to the receiver and get information from the receiver back. So pretty much like send and receive messages. And the last step is disconnect. There are 2 types of receiver applications. The first one is a style media receiver, which is very interesting, and it's a bootstrap for you. When you want to build a Chromecast application, don't have to worry with so many things. And the second one is a custom receiver that we are going to talk about both of them. What is a receiver app? Because if you think Chromecast has like 2 different SDKs, one for the sender and one for the receiver, but the receiver application is built in JavaScript, HTML5, and CSS, which makes things a way more easier in terms of development costs and time to build your application. And because we have, they provide that style media receiver application, it makes things even more interesting. The style media receiver application, it's something that Google pre-built. It's like a sample application focused on audio-video playback experience. And Google hosts that thing for you, and you don't have to worry about. The only thing that you can do in this case is customize the application and add your logo, watermark, and to do that, the only thing that you need to do is create a file, a CSS file with a field class and information. That's the code for that. So if I want to change the background of my application, just create this file, put a background CSS class, and set the color. Or you could define an image. Another thing is, if I want to define a logo when my application starts to show in the center, I could put a logo or a text or whatever you want. It's pretty straightforward. Same thing with watermark. You can define like a small image in the top left or in the bottom right. You can define an image, the size of that, how much of opacity it's going to have. And you can define like progress bar colors during your playback experience. If you, I don't know, the Times video, the project that I'm working on, the main color that we have is blue. So I don't want my progress bar be red or any other like different color. I want to keep that consistent. And you also have a splash screen where you can configure this, again, an image or a background, or those kind of information. Now I'm going to show you how a style media receiver application looks like. It's very, so hold on a second. So that's the area that I mentioned where you can like create your application. If we click here, that application that I create for the stream media is, I have the URL. Let me try to zoom in. I have the URL of one CSS that I defined for this talk. And if I click Prevail, we have the Times Video logo, and if I press load video, it will show some sample video and the color bar in blue and the T logo in the right bottom. So, and we are going to see later on a fully functional application running where I'm going to use that style media receiver in a few. So if we, so another interesting thing is when you are building those applications, you need somehow have tools to debug and make sure everything is working. And when it's not working, why it's not? And one thing that I put here was, oops, sorry. I don't know if you guys can see this, but the splash image that I define in my CSS is not there. It's not in the place where I host my CSS and image files. So for that reason, the Chromecast didn't show the image, and also with the console log, you can see what's happened. So the image is not found, so that's why. So you can debug. That's the kind of mistake. Or if you are building your custom receiver that we are going to see how to do, that's a very helpful tool because that shows like what is happening if something is broke, if you have syntax errors or anything like that. So the custom receiver, everything is with you. Like you need to build everything from scratch. Chromecast has a SDK to help you with the entire communication between the receiver and sender, and the media playback library as well. But you need to build the entire interface. If you want to have, instead of the controls in the bottle on the top for whatever reason, or if you want to have an image on the top and with the title and with a headline and description of what this video is about, to change the entire look and feel of your receiver is where you should do. That's the custom receiver, and that's the kind of experience that companies like Hulu, Netflix, and Times, and any other company who wants a different experience in Chromecast make it. I can show you an example here, again, where we are Netflix here, and they should have like a button here, but I believe because I have the beta Chrome plugin that's not working, so I'm going to click here, and I'm casting, and you can see over there, you have the Netflix logo, and the loading was in red. Again, the loading of the video is showing a different way. And another interesting thing, so the video is playing, so I paused. That's the thing that was mentioned before about the controls. If you look, the controls here in the browser looks like, okay, I'm in pause state. So the controls show the play icon telling me that I'm able to click and then I'll be playing. But if you look for the Chromecast, the icon shows there is a pause state because that means that the current state of what is happening on TV, what is happening on the receiver. Okay. So let's stop that. That movie is pretty funny, by the way, if you guys want to check. Okay, and another thing about the custom receiver is for the style media receiver, Google hosts all the files for you. The only thing that you need to do is provide a CSS. For the custom receiver, you need to host everything, and it should be an HTTPS. Okay, so if you have CSS, image, JavaScript, and all of that, you need to host by yourself. And when it's a good idea, and why should we build a custom receiver since Google already provide a sample application that is right away for you to use? It's pretty much if you wanted to build, for instance, I don't know, a second screen game where the control is your phone and you want to fling the content to the Chromecast and have a big screen game experience, or if your video application requires DRM, which is the style media receiver doesn't support. but you can't build it. Or if you want to make an audio gallery or image gallery or any kind of like second screen experience, we at the times that we are trying to figure out new ways to interact with our content. So we have many interactive piece of stories. That the idea is in the future use Chromecast to present the video, but also engage you, show you some kind of interactive where you can engage with the video and the content in the news on that story. So the basic structure of a custom receiver application, it's pretty much a HTML page with the only two things. Actually, you only need one thing, is that cast receiver JS, the 2.0 SDK. The second one is if you want to build an audio and video application. That will be like very helpful because it provides a media player framework for you to create and manage all of that. But you can build your own if you want. It's pretty simple, HTML5. Any developer will be able to create that application and should not take that long. So one thing that was quite asked me when we start to build this thing is because at the times we have this channel called Timescast, which is a premium content that we provide. And how are we going to like make sure that we secure our content? And one approach that we are using is DRM, and like the style media receiver doesn't support that, so we need to build our custom. And the media player library was very helpful because they already implement Widevine and PlayRed. I think it's version 1 only, but let me show you. Those are pretty much what the Chromecast support in terms of video and audio codec. For video is the H.264 and VP8 and audio MP3, AAC, low complexity and high, Vorbis and WAV. And for subtitle, WebVVT, that's another thing that we are trying to explore more in our content, which is like provide more subtitles and closed captions for users with like multi-language and stuff like that. So Chromecast will be very helpful in these terms. DRM solution that the support that I mentioned, and the adaptive stream. I tried HLS and it works. I didn't try Dash and smooth streaming, so I'm not sure if it fully works. That's what the Chromecast SDK website mentioned, but I'm not 100%. HLS, I know for sure that it is working. And now let's talk about the receiver limitations. The device is very small and very cheap, so for that, they don't have that much like power in terms of memory and CPU. And for that, you need to make your receiver application be as small and lightweight and fast as you can to avoid any kind of issues during the playback or stuff like that. Another problem is like you can't play more than one video at the same time on Chromecast. You only play once. You only have one single concurrent playback experience. And you can't do compositions like zooming, rotation, and those kind of stuff. But I think for the amount of money that the users are paying for have the Chromecast, which is around $35, it's a pretty good platform and it's good. How many developers do we have in the audience here? I have a few, so that's good. For those who are not developed, I'm going to show some code in JavaScript. I try to, because we are building that app at the times, and we have only 45 minutes here. It's impossible to make like a real app. But what I can show you is like what is the minimal code necessary to connect on the Chromecast, play a media there, and send commands like pause, stop, and all of that. Let me show you. So the send apps that we are working on at the time now, all of those, we are in a beta stage right now, so it's pretty soon that we are going to release all of that. The Chromecast Sender apps that I'm going to show you here is also written in HTML5 and JavaScript, which, if you think, again, in terms of development costs, it's a way more cheaper to build a first version of a Chromecast application in the browser than for the other mobile device, because you need someone with Objective-C skills, iOS developer, and also a Java developer. And JavaScript and HTML5, you have a variety of professionals who work with this for a long time, so it's a way more cheap and faster to build. Okay, that's the part of the code that was mentioned. Here in the first line, that's your application ID. I don't know if you guys remember, but here we have the list of my applications that I didn't publish, and this one is the ID that I'm using here. Oh, sorry. That I'm using here. The first thing that you need to do is make sure that you have a Chromecast API available for you. Have to load that. That's the piece of code that you need to develop. But I'm going to show you also the HTML5 that includes the Chrome SDK. So in the first line here, what we are doing is instantiate a new object of this class here called session request that we need to pass application ID. And the second one is configure, create another instance of another class called API config that receive that session request. It will be helpful because, let's suppose, if you go from one page to another, you should be able to keep the session with your device across those pages and send new media for the device if you want. And you have those two functions here are pretty much like callbacks. They are functions who are executed inside of other functions. And we have one when the session listening happened and was complete, and when the receiver is available. When this function is executed is when your device has some kind of state. It could be idle, available, or offline. The next step is call the function initialize inside the Chromecast library and pass your API configuration that has your application ID. And you have two more callbacks function that show when the initialization complete with success or if you have any kind of errors. So we have here pretty much 19 lines of code. That is the minimum that you need to initialize a connection session with the Chromecast. Okay, and to make sure that what you did was establish the connection. Now we need to request that session, and that's the other command that you need to execute. Is request session, and this thing will make is activate the Chromecast plugin bar to show you what device you have available, and when you select one, that will be the session for your current application. An interesting part here is this command will be only show because the application is not published. So when you publish your application, you have that available for everybody, because during the development mode of this application, the only device that can see that application is those that you registered before in the Chromecast website, the published website. So it makes sure that nobody can see what you're doing without you finally publish it, even if the person has the application ID or something like that. So we have 8 more lines of code. And here is the most big one, but it's not that scary. Actually, what we are doing here is sending metadata. So that function here called load video that I defined in JavaScript has one argument called video. And this object here has all the metadata that I need to play that video in Chromecast, which is the video URL, some kind of title, and a poster image that I'm going to show you where it appears. So the first line here, we are defining the media info, which needs a URL. And after that, we need to pass, we need to pass the metadata. So there are different kind of metadata for different kind of application. When you have audio, is different than video and all of that. For the purpose of this presentation, I'm going to use the generic metadata, which the only thing that I need to really inform is the content type. And because the files that I have here, it's MP4, I'm specifying that it's a video MP4. But if it was a HLS or MPEG-N or VP8, I could specify that and it'd be fine, like a WebM. So the next line here, I get my video title that I receive over here and pass to the metadata. And same thing with the image, which I could pass more than one if I want for different purposes. And the next step is I need to create an instance of the load request class, which is going to receive the media info. It's more like you have a package and you put all the metadata that you have and say, okay, that's what I need. And the last step is call, before you pass the call, you need to specify if the video that is going to play, that request that you are making, video, audio, doesn't matter, is going to be an outplay, which is ideally is true because the user already in the interface hit play and he doesn't expect that the thing send the content to Chromecast and not play. It should be outplay, but you can set for outplay false, and you should specify the current time. That value is in seconds. So as I mentioned before, if you are in the middle of the video and the user decides to fling that content to Chromecast, it should start in the exactly position that he was watching and not in the beginning. So you specify here the current time. And in the end, you say, okay, that session that we create in the previous function is available for you. So you say load media and pass the request. That request has the video URL and all the metadata that we defined before. And what you get from that is, again, two more callbacks, which is one, when the media was fully loaded and you have access to make play, pause, stop commands. And the other callback is when you have some kind of error with the media, so it was not available, you have some network issue. And here's one example of like how we should call in JavaScript this function. So I pass the URL of my video, a title, and a poster. So those three functions here, I can explain one, and they will be pretty much the same for all the others. So the first function is a seek-to, that is every kind of action that you make on the Chromecast, you need to send a request to the device because it's the way of like how the SDK works. So what we do here is send a seek request, and you specify a current time that you want to do the request. And in the media, you call the method, the media instance, you call the method seek and pass the seek request. And the same thing for pause, which we have here, pause request, and you pass the object here as well, and then play, and you can pass another options like volume and put that thing in mute or not. So again, I think I show you guys something around of 100 line of code that you make in the sender application in Chrome. And let me show you this thing working. So before that, I want to make sure that all of you can see that I create this function here in each application that verifies if the Chromecast API is available, and have the first slide when I start to show you code. So we initialize the session request, API config, and then we call initialize. From that point, we have the seek-to function, pause playback, play playback, and the load video that we saw before. Okay, so this code here is exactly the same that what I showed you guys before. The only difference is I have two more variables here that I keep the session available in the media when the callback is dispatched. And yeah, so with this thing here, we have the load video and the stop application, which is another method for the current session. So when you decide to disconnect your device from the Chromecast and the launch application to start the connection. So we have here around of like 100 line of codes, and that is enough to connect you with the Chromecast, play a video, any amount of videos that you want, and pause, play, and stick to a specific position. And let me show you guys the application that I create for the demo. So there is one thing here, probably the Google Chromecast design team will be sad with me. It's the Chromecast button here is not following the guidelines because you have like a few states. One is when the Chromecast is disabled, that you should see the Chromecast icon like this without any kind of colors. And when you connect, you should see with a different color like blue or red, but totally full. So I put one button here just to explain, and because I don't want to make all the switch between one kind of icon to another, because it would be like a lot of code, and not a lot, but more code than we need to understand the purpose of like how to build the app. So if we click here, that, and I don't know if you guys remember, that was our request session call, which is our launch application. If we click here, that will open this Chromecast plugin bar that show all the devices that I have available. And as soon as I connect here, you guys should be able to see here that scheme that I put choose before in that CSS. And here I have like a few videos. So I'm going to show you this one, which is Tulum. It's an amazing place in Mexico that I want to go pretty soon. You have some audio on that? Do we have audio for this thing? No? Yeah, no. We think we had before. So yeah. So following the design spec that I mentioned before, as you can see here, the thing that you can do is like pause the video, and when we switch to play, but the icon there show that we still pause because it's following that same idea. And we have the New York Times T logo small over there, and the color. So if I hit play again, to be able to continue. And if we want to jump to a specific position in the video, you know. It's playing. If we click in another video, it will show the next one. So I think from this point now, it's more about you make your application with the look and feel and with the design specs that you have in mind to match what you are seeing here. It's more about to evolve, but from this point now, you have an application that connect on Chromecast and send any kind of video, which is totally different than, for instance, if we go to the New York Times webpage, and instead of decide to cast that video as my application, I could cast a tab, right? And that will show like the entire thing. It's totally different. Like in that experience, when we launched the New York Times Chromecast app, if we have a video player like we have here, when you hit play and you connect in your Chromecast, the playback will happen of the video on the Chromecast screen and the browser not here, which is a very different experience than share a tab instead of the content. So yeah, I think, let me go back here to my, yeah. 1 second. What's happening? Okay, I'm terrible with jokes, so I don't think it's it's going to work. I hope this thing downloads. Yeah. Anyway, all the resource and information that you can get to build your app, it's available at developers.google.com/cast. They have a very extensive and clear documentation with videos, how you can build that, and it's very helpful. You can pretty much figure out everything there. And there is the website, the Chromecast.com apps that show all the major content providers that, hold on. Oops. That have content available here. So as you can see, we have HBO Go, Netflix, ESPN, and many others like games and other stuff. And the interesting part, it shows like where you can find this available. So that's another thing. The Chromecast store is just to show you, okay, those apps has support to Chromecast, but you don't need to download a Chromecast application to be able to play that. It's built in the application of your own application. So when you go from the website, you see the Chromecast button over there. And when you go to the application, I would love to show you guys. Let me see if I still have time. Not much. Show you more examples about how we made our custom receiver and the look and feel of that. But I think that will be a lot of more code. Maybe it's not appropriate for this section right now. So let me jump back here, and I believe that's it. That's the place where you can get all the information. Everything's super clear and very helpful. So yeah, if you guys have questions. Yep. Which one? Oh, sorry, say it again. It was the second to last slide. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yep. Yep. No, okay. So the question is, when you fling a content to the Chromecast, how it works. So internally, the Chromecast and the receive application is able to do the request to your CDN or whatever it is where you host your video and do the playback experience. Everything happened there. Nothing happened in your mobile device. That's true in a point where if you decide to shut down your device and the video is already playing that, it will play until the end. Okay? And one of interesting experience that we are trying to make in the Times Cast app is because for Times Video here, let me show you. That's our website. So we have the concept of channels and shows, and I can't see anything here. Okay. So the 36 Hours is one of the favorite shows that I like. So we have many different videos. What we are trying to do right now is, okay, as soon as you start to fling a content to the Chromecast, if you decide not to do anything, we are going to play the next video in that same section that you are. So that keep like your Chromecast like playing and you are more engaged with different content. There are other interesting challenges in terms of how we monetize video, because ideally you should not play advertisement in the Chromecast and how you monetize that. So usually the advertisement it's playing in the application itself, so in your mobile phone or in the browser, and you won't send to the Chromecast the real video. So yeah. Any more questions? Oh, okay. So, can you say that one more time? What's this?
If you want to play an HLS adaptive live stream,
Mm-hmm.
have you had much success with that?
Oh, so yeah. The question is if I had any kind of experience playing HLS live with adaptive stream on the Chromecast. No, not yet. I tried HLS with adaptive stream for VOD content, and it works pretty well. I could see all the variation from one quality to another, throttling my bandwidth, and it works fine, but not for live. And that's something that we definitely are going to have because of the timecast, that thing that I mentioned before, where the idea is even before provide the VOD content, have all of those talks in live and probably like using Chromecast as well. I think the big challenge that the Times have right now is we are trying to get into an OTT device, but we need to understand how our content fit in those kind of device, because it's not every single video that we want to present there, because some video will be like out of date and you lose the context of that. So we are trying to understand the market and okay, that's the kind of segments that we can have there. So maybe not have a Times video application in those OTT device, but have some specific channels like the 36 hours or the UpDocs, which is another show that we have here. I can't see them. Opinion UpDocs, which we have like small documentaries and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it. Question? Okay. So thank you guys for your time. And if you have any questions, you can send me an email or talk with me after that. Okay. Thank you.